How we doing, everybody? How we doing? Happy Friday, April 20th, 2018. Happy 420, Big Chonis. Happy 420.
Hey, Cheds, how are you? Happy to be here. Happy to talk some crypto with you. Happy day indeed.
Excellent. Let's see. So, where should we start today? Do you want to start at the maybe the order flow at the L2 there, or do you want to take a look at like a daily chart? You know, it's your ship. Where do you want to go?
Well, you got the hourly chart there in front of you, so why don't we just start with that one, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so we're on the 1 hour there. Let's acknowledge here that we have had some just incredible price action over the past several days here. This has just been a great bullish move continuing from that big candle that we had back on April 12th. A couple things that I've basically been trying to keep an eye on is as we basically crawl up through these kind of overbought areas here, how the market's affecting it. We basically are not seeing a lot of resistance as we move up and basically of holding it in that 82 to 85 range now. That's super encouraging because we're not correcting to that 7,500 region, which I think a lot of people have been calling for, and we keep putting in almost bull flag after bull flag, and every once in a while you'll see kind of a little long wick fake out either on the up or the down to kind of shake out some people with their stop losses. I've had that experience a few times already. So but if you believe in this trend and if you've held all this time, basically since that big green candle we had, you've been pretty much rewarded nicely, and you've seen a lot of the other coins as well following suit. So, Bitcoin is still bullish until there's a reason for it not to be. And there's a few kind of things happening as it keeps crawling up the 8,500s, a couple of resistance areas that it's about to hit soon, and be very curious to see kind of how the market responds to those areas, and if we will get that kind of correction and basically see if we can keep pushing through. A lot of trend line support and a lot of history basically in the 8,500 to 8,800 area, which it seems like we're trying to reach through now.
I mean, I feel like we kind of have history everywhere at this point. I feel like Bitcoin's been around the block. So it's like we've had a lot of these small, slow crawl down and slow crawl up. So I think it's kind of got history everywhere, right? If I was just to kind of scroll up and down this chart, Big Chonis, I mean, there's support and resistance everywhere. So it's like, it's traffic, right? It's got a lot of traffic to work through.
Right.
I think you do have to acknowledge it's been churning really nicely here. Put it in really nice uptrend here on the 1 hour. Notably, we did just clear, I'm going to zoom in here. We did just clear this level of resistance. So that actually is notable. It now becomes support. I mean, it's formed kind of like an ascending triangle here. Then it broke out. It kind of gave it back, and it looks like they're kind of shaking the market. $100 one way or another, Big Chonis. To kind of root out those, those futures, those shorts sometimes.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that happen primarily now because what I feel we're in here is we've been in a low volume retail market for the past couple of weeks. So with some big money can come in, like what we saw a few weeks ago, it can really take over the market here. So somebody that can basically afford to move 10, 15, 20, 30 million in a very short amount of time can affect the price Bitcoin, hundreds of dollars in either way. I think it's kind of what we're seeing here. So the retail, investor has basically committed to this move and held. That's why you don't see a lot of sell volume. And even when they've been tested in terms of, support lines potentially breaking through or whatnot, it's just been able to hold on, showing this continued bullish strength. 8,500 to 8,800 area there, which we were just talking about, a lot of history in this area. As you mentioned, there seems to be a lot of history everywhere as well. But the reason this is very important is because the last time we had a candle like this back in March 18th, a lot of that G20 kind of pop that brought us up to this area here almost at 9,000 with a little touch over to 9,100. We double tested that area. It's possible we might be putting in some sort of a similar kind of test here of this resistance area again.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see sometimes with Bitcoin, it likes to basically double top test a few things a few times as well, and on the bottom as well we've seen. So I wouldn't be surprised if we basically approach eventually a point here where we start to correct and then basically try and retest that line. And whatever happens on that second retest, I think will set the stage for what will come. Because if we get rejected, you know, that could be a situation here where no one's really prepared to buy a lot over 8,800, let's say. But if we're able to break through that, you know, 9,100 is kind of that next hurdle that really would be bringing a lot of people into the market, basically assuming that we're almost about to break out of this real downward trend. Last thing I want to say is about the weekly chart. That, you know, it ends in a few days. You know, we still have a few days left. There's a lot of, you know, people looking at the chart with certain trend lines. You know, the log scale basically shows, at least on the Coinbase chart, that we're basically almost there yet, but not quite touching that kind of line. And basically, depending on how you draw it. But anyway, we're very close to it. So a weekly close above that would be very bullish. Basically, you want to kind of see if you can retest that to see how strong that support level is. That's also a positive sign. So we're very close to that area in terms of the weekly chart where a real conviction, potentially sentiment change could be taking place. But the price action over the next 2 days is going to be very important to see how that happens.
Just real quick, you know, we're not advisors. We're just a couple of friends, actually. We just like to talk crypto, and we thought you might enjoy the conversation. We're just having fun. You can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. You can find him on Twitter at Big Chonis. And I have a blog, but it's not listed up here right now, chedstrading.blogspot.com. I have the complete beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading there. And, you know, I hope you guys enjoy it. Check it out if you are just getting started, especially. So, you know, for me, Big Chonis, it's almost like the weekly chart's a little bit of a teaser because it looks like it wants to bottom, but you can easily see it getting rejected maybe and coming back down, right? Like this isn't a convincing move yet. Do you see how this could kind of break your heart, the weekly chart?
Well, the real thing that, you know, initially sticks out to me about the weekly is how wide the Bollinger Bands still are.
Yeah.
We see how kind of methodical and spreading out they became as this run took place. From a weekly standard there, a weekly perspective there, it's still almost in a sense, you know, in an overbought maybe consolidation area there. So because of that, you know, that basically tells me that, A, this will take some time, obviously, for, you know, that kind of true sentiment change to play out. A lot of sideways action, you know, really is not the worst thing for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
As you do sideways action, the Bollingers will begin to tighten. A lot of those indicator lines will also begin to tighten as well. And you want to see that. You want to create that situation that will help the next bull run, you know, to basically start. And the kind of price action we're seeing now in Bitcoin, you know, the volume isn't that great, but it's pretty good. You know, there's a lot of arguments that is this new money flowing into Bitcoin, or is this just basically people basically kind of rising the tide in terms of these valuations. You know, a lot of the alts have been able to produce some nice runs. People are moving around money here and there, put a little bit here, put a little bit there. Bitcoin Cash has been by far the clear winner over the past few days. Just kind of
well, let's go right there.
Hyperdrive.
You know, let's follow that momentum. Let's jump
Sure.
on Bitcoin Cash. Let's go for a daily chart. And I mean, oh wow, right? That looks like a rocket ship. Now, you know, me as kind of a chart geek, I wonder how it would have looked if it hadn't been hyped by CNBC. You know, that's kind of what I'm wondering, because it's almost like it's a little bit broken in the short term. Like, you know, when you have an outside event, you know, and I, as a technical analyst, you know, I believe that everything's priced in the news and all that. But sometimes, you know, an event can kind of break the chart a little bit in the short term. And so we have to I think we have to keep that in mind. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, let's acknowledge that this there's a lot of negativity, I guess we'll say, on Bitcoin Cash, just in terms of how it is, how it came to be, who controls it, and how it actually ended up on GDAX. But besides all that, the chart really is the chart here. I remember when this, if you will, IPO'd on GDAX at like almost what, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Had a quick spike to 9,000 before it basically crashed the site, and they basically pulled it, and then basically trickled down from 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, all the way down to about 600 range. So, that was a very big correction if you think about it, from where it initially debuted in terms of people actually have to trade it on GDAX and Coinbase. And what you're seeing here, basically is a confirmation of that double bottom. And also, it was an offshoot of Bitcoin. So we use the term a lot about like equilibrium, and how the feeling of basically what the valuation should be priced at relative to Bitcoin. So is it possible that Bitcoin Cash was hyper oversold relative to the price of Bitcoin, and why you're seeing this massive bullishness by far and away, over the other ones, because it was so out of alignment, and now it was making up for that and actually became a tremendous, trade opportunity.
Well, let's pull that up. This is the Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin ratio, you were kind of talking about. So here you go.
Yeah, and this has been interesting here, because look where we've kind of topped off there. We basically topped off at that 13,808 area, which was similar to where we were. Are you on Bitfinex? Oh, I'm on the Coinbase there.
Okay, I'll go Coinbase.
Yeah, I just noticed something. It was interesting how it found resistance off of basically on the daily chart, a big candle that it had, looks like on February 19th. And it basically kind of touched that area there almost to a T. Yeah, right there. And I find...
The 8th, February 8th.
Well, the candle, looks like it started on the 19th is the one I'm actually referring to, because you see where the wick seemed to stop. Today's wick basically seemed to stop where the 219 candle. My point is basically that it was an equilibrium situation where it's corrected itself. But you look at the daily chart here, and we just have three, massive candles that have exploded relative to the price of Bitcoin.
And then the volume is notable too. This is increasing bull volume.
Tremendous. I mean, there was a lot of money flow that flew into this thing. The question is now have we basically gone a little too far the other way in correcting?
Sure.
And now are we, how overbought potentially are we here?
Right there. That's your support level. If you use the volume by price or a volume profile, if you use, all this heavy volume and loading in these three candles, Big Chonis, I would just call this the like kind of nut support here. That would be on that ratio. We'd be right there at 11, but I want to be a little more precise, and we'll just move on to the next coin. So let's just go in here. So probably right here. So if it pulls back, like right around there, maybe 895 would be kind of where I would look. Right at the lower area here, and then boom right there in the higher area here. So so that's Bitcoin Cash. Let's take a look at what do you want to do, Ethereum?
Sure, let's do Ethereum.
Okay. Daily chart. It looks. Oh, before we move on, real quick, I just wanted to point out Bitcoin Cash. Big Chonis. Look at the RSI is absurd on the daily, right?
I mean, the RSI, a lot of these are pretty high, but this one is very high. Yes.
Yeah, for a daily. I mean, for daily, this is. I mean, you could see this on like an hourly, 4-hour, but this is for daily. That's very notable. Ethereum is, so it's like, it's right there hugging that upper Bollinger. It hasn't really broken it yet. It can kind of ride this if it doesn't have like too many like big candles. So let's see, an RSI, a little bit of room to run. It looks pretty strong, actually, and shouldn't be too much resistance really until like right around that, like the high sixes, like 680. So I could see this definitely potentially running to like 680. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's definitely running room here. It's been the leader this whole time. I think it's a situation where potentially, when it begins to correct big, that might kind of set the stage for everything else. There's a lot of bullishness, but every day as we keep riding this, we're basically approaching these, a little too overheated markets, and that can have an effect, on the price as it corrects. And potentially there is one more giant green candle that will push Ether, to 625, potentially bring everything else with it, or even higher. But at that point, I can only imagine how high the RSIs are, and certain indicators that would just scream, how big could this correction really be? I think that's where you'll see, the real strength of what the market feels we're at now. Have we turned a corner, or are we basically about to really trap people in a bunch of their longs by tanking the market very quickly? Because big money right now seems to be controlling things. It's still always a possibility you want to basically keep in mind. As I said, the next 2 days could be really important in terms of how the price action, plays out.
Real quick before I move on, just to piggyback on that point, is sometimes the market can kind of lull you to sleep. And I feel like it's kind of doing that right now, where everyone's like, oh, we're just uptrending, whatever. But it can do that. So let's go to LTC. Let's see here. All right, so LTC is looking pretty strong as well, Big Chonis. But we're kind of at a critical resistance area right here at like 151. Which is, you see right here where it had kind of bounced off for support initially, where it had that nice candle back on 318. And so if it can clear this area, I think that might be kind of significant. And the RSI is only around 60. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has room to run. That 150, kind of psychological area there, it's a very important area. That it's great that it was able to break it. And no, but I really feel like, I don't know. It almost feels like every time I keep thinking, oh, it's moved too much, it keeps on pushing forward here. So until the Bitcoin train, stops, Litecoin will follow suit. And that's kind of the situation we're seeing on a lot of these. Now, the more stability you have with Bitcoin, as we've said, altcoins have had a really nice chance to kind of run and move with some nice money flow. Remember, you have to sell Bitcoin or Ether to buy alts. So in a way, as money gets pushed closer to alts and away from Bitcoin, if people feel that a lot of the alt run needs to take a break or so, that money has to flow back somewhere. So as you sell your alts, it's instantly converted into Bitcoin, and that's basically what you're going to see. So as the price of Bitcoin rises, that might actually affect those alts in terms of value. But if everything can keep kind of holding itself up, they all have a chance to run a little bit longer.
All right, that's excellent. So we just wanted to give you guys a quick update here on the major coins. And we will for sure be coming back here, in not too long to do an update on altcoins, right, buddy?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
So, if anything interesting happens, maybe we'll pop back up again. But happy 420, everyone. And, all the best. Take care. Peace out.